Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is Sister Lil. As I promised yesterday, I'm starting a new series on the Black family, particularly the Black man, the Black woman, and how did we get to this place of hate, competing, and not supporting each other? First of all, and I'm speaking specifically to the Black family now. Our family is in a bad shape. Our community is in a bad shape. Our children are killing themselves. Don't seem to have any self-worth, any identity, a lot of them. And we're in a place now where we really, really need to find out what is going on. I know there are many of you who will say sin, and you are correct. Sin is at the root of all destruction. But my question to you is, who opened the door to sin? How did this sin get in? Now, I would like to go back and think about slavery. When we left Africa, we left everything behind that we understood. Our culture, our language, family relationships were broken. They didn't take any consideration if they were separating mothers from sons and daughters. And when they arrived in this great America, they still further separated them. And that put a tear, a separation, maybe even a scare, a fear, a coldness inside. But then when you got to slavery, you had further problems because you had the overseers who would come in and break the men. They would beat the men in front of the women, according to what history says. And they would teach her a lesson to show her he cannot be your protector. They beat him and had you watch him. They brought him down to his knees of submission. And I did hear one commentator say on face and not on Facebook and YouTube how they butt broke them. They sodomized them. They did everything they could to demean this man. They took this man and made him literally lower than the animals that they cared for. And going through this, the woman obviously sitting there watching who's supposed to be her protector, losing respect because he can't protect her. Then later on, the woman becomes afraid when she has sons that they would kill her sons. So she taught her sons to be submissive to the white man. The Black man had to be submissive. That gave the woman more of a leadership role, the strength. She could speak for the family. It has been said when the family needed something, the Black woman stood a better chance of getting something from Mr. White Man than the father did. So you let her go and speak for the family. How do you think a man who God gave the leadership role felt to have his woman go and bargain for food for her family, plead for things for her family? They gave her that leadership role, and it was done on purpose. The enemy, the oppressors knew that once they got the woman to the point where she was in charge, they could control things. Because remember, this is a patriarchal society, and in the Bible it was patriarchal. The man was next to Father, next to Jesus, then the husband, and then the wife. So the husband is seen as the protector, the provider, and the leader. Even in this day, he's still seen that way in a biblical home. However, that doesn't mean the wife can't work. That doesn't mean the wife doesn't have contribution. That doesn't mean they don't sit down and discuss everything together as a family. They do. But the final decision is in the husband's hands when it comes to making certain decisions that will impact the family. If he fails, God holds him responsible for it. So it took away that man. It took away something from him. And then you may say to me, but Leo, that was over 400 years. What happened? Because dysfunction gets passed on from generation to generation to generation. And I don't know, I secretly believe a lot of men hate their wives. I secretly believe that a lot of women hate their husbands. There are women, in my belief, that in even the women that so-called are Jesus followers, if they could get away from that man and didn't fear breaking the covenant, and they didn't fear not being able to take care of themselves, they would go. Because to some women, he died years ago. They have no respect for him. I once wrote a paper, he's already dead. And you hear people say, oh, Sister so-and-so, she is so strong. She was at her husband's funeral and she didn't shed a tear. But they didn't know. The first time they were married, about a couple of weeks, he said something nasty to her. A little bit of a snip of respect, of admiration went. Next time he put hands on her, a little bit more went. Next time she decided, you're not putting hands on me anymore. But he started running around. He started doing things. He started drinking. And after a while, she was coexisting in this home with him. They planned their finances. They schooled their children. But she never had a lover. She never had a man that would put his arms around her and hold her. She never had a man who celebrated her and helped her to feel special and beautiful. She had none of that. So as far as she was concerned, she was a single woman in a marriage contract by the state and in a covenant by the church, which wasn't any of it paying off for her, because there was nothing coming out of it except for staying together, maybe to pay the bills and not losing your home, and you don't really care anymore. So by the time he got sick, she took care of him. She did what she was supposed to do for him. She treated him well. When she followed his remains to the grave, she walked away. She had no more tears. It had already been shed because she felt like he was dead to her years and years ago. I had a friend of mine who's passed on now, but we knew each other. We were in grade school together. And she said to me one day, Lil, I really admire you. I wish I would have had the courage to leave. And I reminded her that, don't give me the compliment. That was not my choice. I was left. Now, had I had the opportunity, chances are I might have done the same thing she did. I might have stayed. But she looked at all the years, all of her young years she had given away to a man who did not understand the covenant or didn't appreciate it. She didn't feel appreciated. She didn't feel celebrated. And now here you are at this age where you have money is no problem. You can have whatever you want. You can go wherever you want to go. You don't even feel like going on a trip with him. It doesn't make any difference. You don't want to go on vacation with him anymore. The feeling is gone. Because once I said to her, well, why don't you guys just take a picnic basket and go to the picnic? She said, too much water under the bridge for that. So you're living with a man that is financially better for you, because you'll have to divide up the finances. You'll have to sell the home. You'll have to sell the cars and get rid of all those things. It's cheaper to just stay there, keep your dress down. And when you do have urges, at least it's legal and it's covenant. And that's that. That is not the kind of life that Father wants for us. Now, I'm not saying Father wants you to get a divorce, but what I am saying Father wants for us to pray about who he sends to us before we get married. And once we make that covenant, we're tied there until death. So it is very, very, very difficult to tie yourself into something with someone that you don't respect. Getting back to the Black woman and the Black man, I really believe that this is something from generations that's been passed down. There are many healthy Black families. I am not saying all Black families are dysfunctional. There are many healthy Black families. But I believe something about this, because I've observed this. There seems to be an anger and almost a hate. I've seen men sit on Oprah's show and describe the Black woman, Black men. Why would you talk about your sister like this on a public show? Because somewhere down inside there is some hate. You have hate. And women too. It's not just a man, women too. So what has brought us to this point? Why are we like this? Yes, mothers many times felt that their sons would be killed, and they taught their sons to be submissive. They took away the mental ability of the Black man in slavery. They didn't want him to do any critical thinking. They couldn't trust that. They want him to be docile. You only performed duties. You breeded women like you breed animals because a certain set of people brought on strong men. They were tall, they were lean, they were muscular, they were able to do work. But you were discouraged from having unity. You did not understand the way a man should treat his wife and the way a woman should treat her husband. There should be no doubt in your mind about submitting and loving your husband. But a man who can treat you in a way that you feel special, you feel celebrated, and you know you're protected. If you're a mentally healthy and spiritually healthy woman, will have no trouble with your honoring him, because it's easy to honor a person who loves you. And I think many times in the ones of us who have single families, the boys have gone astray because they don't have a man in the house. Sometimes when they get to be a certain age, no matter how strong you are, you need a devoted, loving father there. You need a father to teach your son how to be a man, how to love his future wife by showing him how you love his mother. You need a man there for the daughters to help them to know how to feel special. They don't have to go out and lie around the backseat of a car letting somebody paw all over you. You're too good for that. God made you better than that. You're to be treated delicately. You're pure, and you're not to be treated that way. So, if we look at slavery, I think I've discovered from the Willie Lynch's letter how they set this thing up. And we're going to look at what Willie Lynch advised how to keep the slaves divided. You kept them divided by sex, by gender, by skin color, by age. You took the older women and you pitted them against the younger women. You took the high yellow women, they called them mulattoes in those days. In those days, they had mulattoes. Those women looked almost white. They're not like the biracial children today. They many times would get a job in the house, but the dark-skinned woman would go to the field, and the woman who did not have any children, they made her plow just like they did the men. So you look at all of these things that they did to separate you, because even the scriptures tell you, house divided against itself cannot stand. But somewhere along the line, we brought those things over, and we're hanging on to them, and we need to be free. Now, those of us who believe that some Black people in America from the tribe, our ancestors were from the tribe of Judah and Benjamin. That is a belief there that the ancestors put us in this kind of situation to be captured to begin with. Now, whether you believe this or not, I'm not asking you to. It has nothing to do with what I'm trying to get over to you. I have no proof of this, so we're just going to say some people believe this. Okay. If that is the case, nation-wise, as a nation, I don't see any way we're going to be completely turned around until Jesus comes. But individually and as families, we can go, we accept Jesus as our Savior. We can repent and we can get ourselves turned around. So there are ones of us who are born again and following Jesus. We can get this thing turned around on us. But over the nation, maybe not. But I will tell you this one thing: we need each other. Who do you think is giving birth to our children? Teenagers, the mentally ill, and the socially unacceptable people, or the people with socially unacceptable behavior. Most of the career people don't, they might have two children, if they might squeeze out two children. But if both people are active in their careers, they won't have children. Many times the women are so old, by the time they get married, they might can have one child, they might can, with the help of a good a good obstetrician, have the second baby, but by that time they're in their 40s. So this just leaves us where we're losing. We're losing. Our race is just diminishing. We're losing our children. We don't celebrate our children. we don't make them feel special. We really don't have time. Because I looked at some of the young women that I worked with and I thought, oh my God, you can see those women, some of them work 12, 16 hours because they got mandated. Now, can you imagine you got to go home and comb your children's hair, put them in the bathtub, and you got, I don't know who's helping them with their homework unless they get it done at school. You got all of this to do and then come back the next day and do it all over again. So if you have two career-minded people that they are both working at their careers, it's very difficult to maintain a home where there's a lot of patience, a lot of kindness. You just don't have the time. But I do say that children are a blessing. And when Father trusts you with children to raise for him, you should consider yourself honored and blessed. So as the Black family, the Black man, the Black woman, we need to get that straightened out. This anger, this hatred, this competition between us, we need to figure out what is going on and stop it. For Black families who are separated or never married, they need to figure out a way to co-parent their children, even if they're not living in the same home. But parents who have taken a covenant, unless this man is beating you, actively committing adultery, we just need to figure out how to make it work. Not just stay there for the sake of staying there to say I did it until the end. I honored my vows. I paid my dues until the end. But we need to figure out how to go before the cross and pray and ask Father to show you what you need to do to resurrect that marriage, because we are in trouble. We're no longer at the amber light. We are sitting dead at the red light. And if we don't do something, there's not going to be many of us left when the green light comes on. So I'll meet you back here again, hopefully tomorrow. And we're going to look at Willie Lynch and see what did he say to the slave masters, how to manage the end people and how to keep them separated, how to stop them from learning your language, to how to speak your language effectively, how to be articulate in your language, because the less they understand, the easier they are to manage. And you notice that we are people that people tend to think they have to manage us. I have a problem with that. So I'm not diabetes or hypoglycemia where you manage me, you keep me in control. We should be able to grow effectively and offer society something so we don't have to be managed. But anyway, I'll come back tomorrow if the Lord is willing, hopefully, and you have a blessed night. God bless you in Jesus' name. And when you're praying, ask Father to show you who you are, what your responsibility is, not just to the Black race, but to the world, so we can bring people into the kingdom of heaven. Father wants all souls to be saved. I'm talking specifically to my group of people in my community who look like me. But when it comes down to salvation, Father wants us all. Jesus paid the price for the Gentiles as well as the Jews. And if you consider yourself a Hebrew, a Black Hebrew, he paid it for you. But even though you might have been the apple of his eye, but when Jesus died, he died for all of us. So I have brothers and sisters of all colors and all races. So God bless you, keep you safe, and I hope to talk with you very soon. God bless.